everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Madeline and you're watching Novel Ink. Today I am finally here to sit down and film my 1000 subscribers Q&A. This is a little bit late. It's been a month since I hit 1000 subscribers and the giveaway that I was doing in conjunction with this has already ended. The winner has been notified. Congratulations again to Wolfie. Asked for questions in the comments of the video I posted to announce my 1000 subscribers Q&A and giveaway, and I also got a few on Twitter, so I'm gonna be jumping between the two of those. I have some wine today because I'm celebrating 1000 subscribers. Like I said, it's been like a month. I'm at almost 1300 subscribers now and I can't even believe that. Anyway, let's go ahead and jump into the questions for this Q&A. I'm gonna start with the ones on YouTube. Okay, first question, Katie Vance asked, what is your go-to read when you're in a reading slump? Like a lot of people, rereading is always a really good choice for me when I'm in a reading slump, and if I'm gonna do a reread, it's probably gonna be a contemporary. Like my favorite book to reread, the book that I've reread the most probably aside from like Pride and Prejudice, is The Start of Me and You by Emery Lord, which is one of my all-time favorite books, and that can almost always break me out of a reading slump if I reread that book. But if I'm not gonna go for a reread, then some sort of romance is gonna be my go-to choice for breaking myself out of a slump. Suzanne T. Kim asked, have you ever bought a book just because of its cover? And if so, do you think the story was worth it? Honestly, I don't do this. I don't really talk a lot about my book buying habits, but I don't buy a lot of physical books at all, or ebooks for that matter. I just don't buy very many books. I use my library heavily, and I also am lucky enough to receive a lot of review copies from publishers and things like that. So the only books that I've ever bought because of their covers were books that I already loved, but in collector's editions. So like the Darker Shade of Magic collector's edition, the Six of Crows collector's edition. And in that case, obviously, I know that the stories are worth it because I have already read and loved them. Afton Combs asked, congratulations, what other booktubers do you watch often? I watch a lot of booktube, and I hesitate to even start listing people because I watch so many people and I don't want to leave anyone out. I want to do a video soon on like some of my favorite booktubers, but off the top of my head, the people who, when they upload something new, I will 100% watch it. Emily from Possibly Literate, Chelsea from Chelsea Darling Reads, Jane from It's Jane Lindsay, Joss from Scribbles Reads, Chandler from Chandler Ainsley, Sylvia from Wish Fulfillment, Karen from The Audiobook Aficionado, Jocelyn from Yogi with a Book, Alexa from Library of Alexa has been a recent favorite of mine, Owl from Yarnall Reads, Sophie from Sophisticated Books, Rhiannon from Crescent Moon Reads. Those are some that I really love watching. Okay, Silly Little Ravenclaw asked, if you had to choose between only rereading your top 5 favorite books for the rest of your life or only reading new books for the rest of your life without being able to reread, which would you choose? I would choose new books. That's just who I am. I love rereading and I do a lot of rereads. If these were my only two options, I would definitely choose reading new books. Sarah Welch asked, if you were writing a book about your life, what would the title be? I doubt that anyone would want to read a book about my life, but if I were to write one, I think that the title would be some sort of stupid music pun. Probably like, not even a pun, just like a stupid music inside joke. It'd probably be called like Deceptive Cadence or something. I'm an idiot, I'm fully aware. Bookish Sammy asked, if you had to name your hypothetical children after a book character, which would you choose and why? I love Ellie from The Girl with the Red Balloon by Catherine Locke, and I've always thought Ellie was such a beautiful name. Plus it can be a nickname for so many things, so you could name, like, I don't know, if I had a daughter, I think naming her like Elena and calling her Ellie would be really fun. Another one that I've thought about is Gemma from the Gemma Doyle trilogy by Libba Bray, simply because that series has like really shaped me as a person, and Gemma as a character I feel like really shaped me as a person. Probably one of those two. Captain Book asked, are you more of a cat person or a dog person? Both. I love both. I've owned both. I get along with both. I love both cats and dogs. I'm sorry to be such an indecisive person. Library of Alexa asked a question that when I saw it, I was really excited to answer it, and she asked about my favorite bookstores in the Atlanta area. She said that she's local and hasn't found any bookstores that she loves yet. I've got you, girl. So I have two like very absolute favorites. One of them is probably my top favorite. It's Little Shop of Stories in Decatur. It's right on the Decatur Square, and Little Shop is primarily a children's and young adult bookstore, so they really specialize in that, and they have just such an amazing selection in those age ranges, but they also curate their adult section so wonderfully. Their whole selection is so thoughtfully put together, and anytime that I am looking for a book, you know, I read a lot of diverse YA and Own Voices YA and Own Voices and diverse adult fiction as well, and they always have the books in stock that I want. With like, I rarely have to ever special order anything from them. Like they just do such a good job of stocking the works of marginalized authors and really championing those books. Their staff is also just the most friendly group of people, and they're so helpful and wonderful. Their store is super cute too. Like, part of the floor is made of pennies. They recently did an expansion, and now they have like a little mock platform 9 3/4, which is super cute. And they also, another reason I really love Little Shop is they host so many wonderful book events here in the Atlanta area. They just bring so many great authors here, and I've met almost all of my favorite authors because they come to do events at Little Shop. So I love Little Shop Stories. I will always advocate for them, and I've been shopping there for years and years since I was in middle school, and I just adore them, adore the staff, adore the location. They're great. Another favorite is Karis Books and More, which is in Little Five Points right now, but it's moving to Decatur in 2019, I think. But they are an independent feminist bookstore and very intersectional. Their selection is a lot more specific to that. So lots of feminist literature, lots of great nonfiction. Their YA section is great because it has a ton of female-female romances and just queer books in general. Just such a really good selection. And if you're like a social justice minded person, I think that Karis is definitely a must visit. They also host a lot of great events. Those are my two favorites. If you're a used book person, Acapella Books, which is off of DeKalb Avenue, is really cool. They carry new and used books, but they have a great selection of used books. All three of these bookstores are independent and they're local, so you know, they're all great. I hope you find one you love. Rajni Singh asked, what's your favorite nonfiction book? Probably my all-time favorite nonfiction book, one of my favorite books of all time, is Between the World and Me by Ta-Nehisi Coates. It's one of those books that I recommend to everyone, and I think that everyone can get something from reading that book. It's also super short, so I've given it as a gift to a lot of what I would call reluctant readers who have still been able to get through it and really enjoyed it. I recently read this month Bad Blood by John Carreyrou, and like currently that book is not leaving my mind. It's just the most like wild ride. I don't know, if you're looking for like a page turner of a nonfiction book, Bad Blood is where it's at. It is so shocking and jaw-dropping, and I the whole time I was reading, I couldn't even believe that the events of that book had actually happened. Alexis from The Sloth Reader asked, what books are your go-tos for recommending to new readers? Anytime I give a book recommendation to someone, it's very tailored to their personal taste. I have a couple, so if we're talking nonfiction, I would say Between the World and Me is a good one, because like I said, it's pretty short, it's beautifully written, and it's very timely. It covers a very timely subject. If we're talking young adult, I always go for Becky Albertalli's books. I have given her books to so many of my adult friends who are reluctant readers, and they've all loved them. The Sex Criminals graphic novel series is another one that I just like give out like candy to people, and everyone just like absolutely falls in love with it. So those are some of my go-to recommendations. Graciela Fatache asked, top 3 books that people love but you hate. Eleanor and Park by Rainbow Rowell. What is that series called? The ACOTAR series by Sarah J. Maas. Don't care for it, don't like it. And The Bronze Horseman by Polina Simons. Megan asked, what's your favorite childhood book? When I was very young, it was between the Magic Tree House books and the Junie B. Jones books. I started both of those series when I was in kindergarten, and I like just reread them over and over and over. And in both of those cases, I had some of the books in the series on cassette tape as well. So not only was I like rereading the physical book all the time, but I was also just like rewinding the cassette tape like every night and listening to the same books. So I couldn't get enough of those two series when I was a kid. Then like later in my like elementary school years, like probably, I don't know, third grade-ish, I got really into the Royal Diaries books, which are like fictionalized diaries from famous female royal figures throughout history. I was just absolutely enamored with that series. A good segue from that question, my friend Lily at Sweet Love Books asked, what were some of your favorite books you read as a teen? So I read The Hunger Games as a teen. Well, actually, I think I started those when I was like 12. I read the first book like a couple months after it had come out. My school librarian recommended it to my mom to get it for me for Christmas Alchemist that year, and so I read it before literally like anyone else had read it, and it was so different from anything I had ever read before, and I remember just like absolutely falling in love from the moment that I read the first page. Also loved the Blue Bloods series by Melissa de la Cruz. So like obviously I read and loved Twilight, but Blue Bloods was like the next step up from that. It was another vampire series. I really want to reread that series because I was just like such a big fan of that series as a teen. And then of course the most meaningful series that I read as a teen that's still one of my favorites of all time is the Gemma Doyle trilogy by Libba Bray. Yeah, that series, I've said it before and I'll say it again, it's not without its problems, it is not without its faults, but that series changed my life, and Gemma changed my life, and Libba Bray changed my life because of it, and I will always have a special place in my heart for that series because, like I say, it really did change me as a person. FHMS97 asked, what's your favorite book trope? Friends to lovers, so good. Enemies to lovers, also so good. Friends to enemies to lovers, even better. Yeah, I mean, I know that's a basic answer, but it's my favorite. What can I say? Okay, 2 people asked a kind of similar question, so I'm gonna try and tackle it in the same answer. So North Sky asked, if you had to create a new book out of a mashup of 3 books, what books would you choose, which elements would you choose, and what would you name it? And then Jocelyn from Yogi with a Book asked, if you could create a book by combining favorite authors, which would you choose? Basically a build your own sort of deal, like the writing style of X, characters reminiscent of Y, etc. These are just both such good questions. Okay, historical setting of Libba Bray, the world building of Victoria Schwab, the prose of Anna Marie McLemore, the characters and friendships and relationships of Emery Lord. That's my answer. Boom. M Likes Books asked, how do you think that BookTube has changed your reading habits, and what's your favorite video that you've made? BookTube hasn't changed my reading habits very much. Like, I've always kind of read at a really high volume, and I think I do read at even a higher volume now than I did when I was younger. So BookTube hasn't really changed a lot about my reading habits. I do think it has introduced me to some new genres like graphic novels and romance that I wasn't really picking up before. But also I've been watching BookTube since 2012, so it has been a part of my reading life for so long that I feel like it just has kind of, I don't know, shaped my reading life for a lot of years. It has changed my book buying habits. I would say I'm a lot more selective about the books that I buy and the books that I add to my TBR now, which I think is a good thing because it means that I read more books that I genuinely enjoy and I take less gambles on books that maybe wouldn't work out for me. My favorite video I've made, I don't know, I really like all of my wrap-ups because I feel like I'm a good reviewer, and I don't know. I like doing wrap-ups. I know that's really basic because that's a very basic kind of content on YouTube. I also really liked doing the LGBTQIA+ booktube tag, so those are some of my faves. Angela McCallan asked, do you reread books? Yes, I reread books a lot. It's kind of funny because in 2017, I was like going through my reading at the end of the year and I realized that I had only reread 1 book that entire year, which is very weird for me. So I kind of flipped out about it. And then in 2018, I set a goal for myself to reread like X amount of books. I'm doing a lot more rereading this year and I feel so much better because I think rereads have always been a really necessary part of my reading life to kind of reset my reading mind and like stop me from getting into slumps and things like that. Antonella Rios asked question 1, what's your favorite opening line? Probably, this is gonna be a weird answer, but the one that always comes to my mind when I get asked this is the opening line of A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab, which is, Kel wore a very peculiar coat. I just think that's such a compelling opening line. I don't know. And then she also asked, if you could describe your personality as a book genre, which one would you be? I'm gonna say graphic novel. I've always thought like a graphic novel memoir would be like really fun. I don't know. I'm gonna go with graphic novel. Leah from Drums of Autumn asked, if you could travel anywhere in the world right now without worrying about costs or time, where would you choose? So I travel a lot, but one of my main travel goals for 2019 is to go to Peru and go to Lima and Machu Picchu and Cusco, and I hear the food is great, I speak the language, I want to see all of the sights. I love South America, and your dollar can stretch a longer way in South America than it can like in Europe. And yeah, Peru is just at the top of my list for travel destinations. So hoping to go in 2019, fingers crossed. Read by Marta asked a couple of questions. The first one was, how did you feel the first time that you read a book and didn't like it after becoming a reader? That's a really interesting question. I think that I probably felt pretty betrayed the first time that happened to me, because like I just was such a lover of reading even as a kid that I just like probably until that happened to me didn't think that books could like betray me. She also asked, which 3 books would you reread over and over again? The Start of Me and You by Emery Lord, The Girl with the Red Balloon by Catherine Locke, and I guess I'll say the Harry Potter series because why not? It's a great reread. Dog-eared Paige asked, what book would you want to see made into a film or TV show that hasn't already been? The Diviners by Libba Bray. It would make such an amazing Netflix series. That's all I gotta say on that. Beautifully Bookish Bethany asked, which book or books got you into reading, and do you have a favorite genre? I've always been a reader my entire life. I like learned to read when I was 3 or 4 and just literally never stopped. Like I've never had a lapse in my reading, really ever. I've always loved it. So I can't pinpoint a specific book that got me into reading because I just like, from the moment I learned to read, I was just hooked. As far as favorite genre, my absolute favorite genre is historical fiction, historical fantasy even better. Those will just always be my favorites, but some close runners up are literary fiction, contemporary, and graphic novels. Kathy asked, where is your current favorite place to read, and where is somewhere special that you would like to read one day? This is a good question. My current favorite place to read is probably my couch. I just have such a cozy reading nook that I can set up on my couch. I also love reading when I'm traveling, so like on planes and buses and the subway, things like that. Somewhere special that I'd like to read in the future. I don't know. I've read a lot of places around the world just because I've traveled so much. So I really want to go see the Northern Lights. That's like one of my bucket list items, and as much as I've traveled, I've never been able to see the Northern Lights. So I would love to like read under the Northern Lights while they're like flashing in the sky above me and like be reading. That's kind of cheesy, but it's true. That's what I would pick. Sophie from Sophisticated Books asked, who's the first booktuber you ever watched? Cliche answer, but it was Christine from Poland Bananas Books. It was 2012, and I found a video of hers on Pinterest, and that is how I discovered BookTube, ladies and gentlemen. I still remember exactly which video it was. I still like go back and watch it occasionally and like laugh to myself because it like got me into this whole part of like my online life that I never would have like discovered if it weren't for finding this video on Pinterest. And funnily enough, I was talking to Christine at the Goodreads community party that they had at Book Expo in New York this past summer, and I was telling her that story, and she was like, yeah, it's so weird because in the early days a lot of my traffic from my channel came through Pinterest. So yeah, the more you know. Sophie also asked, what character do you identify with a lot? I really strongly identify with Gemma from the Gemma Doyle trilogy by Libba Bray. I just like had never read a character before I read that series that felt so much like me and so true to myself. Yeah, and I still relate to her so much. I love her. Terrell Bellinger asked, what criminally underrated author do you think deserves more hype on BookTube? I think this is Amy Rose Capetta. She just is writing the most beautifully written, well thought out, entertaining, compelling queer stories. She writes amazing contemporary, she writes an amazing fantasy, she's coming out with a queer sci-fi next year. Like I think that her writing is brilliant, and I think she deserves a lot more love than she gets. For the last of the YouTube questions, M's Bookish Corner asked, what book will you read to your kids, and would you hope that they'll read to their kids, and so on and so on. I mean, is there another answer besides Harry Potter? Like, I just think that's such a clear answer for so many people. I know that's cliche, but like a lot of my favorite books that I would want my kids to read one day are not really books that I could read to them because they're more like young adult or adult fiction. And I think Harry Potter, like of all my favorite books, Harry Potter is the most accessible to children. So, and I mean, not that it's not accessible to adults as well, but you know what I mean. So I would definitely choose Harry Potter. All right, that is all of the YouTube questions. So now I'm gonna move to Twitter questions. My lovely friend Sylvia at Wish Fulfillment asked a great question, which is, of the Inside Out emotions, which is your primary? I had never thought about this before, but now I think about it all the time. And like, this is gonna sound really sad, but out of the Inside Out emotions, my primary would definitely be fear, just because I am such an anxious person and I am I wouldn't say I'm completely ruled by anxiety all of the time, but it is something that's just ever present in my life. And like of all of those emotions, like fear is the one that just stands out to me as being a constant. Yeah, so fear it would be my primary out of all of those for sure. Joss from Squibbles Reads asked, who is your favorite salty bitch and why is it me? It truly is you, like it really is. And why is it you? It's you because you, me, and Emily, if you don't know, like Joss from Squibbles Reads and Emily from Possibly Literate are two of my best friends on this planet. I talk to them every single day. We have a group text together. And I just feel like the three of us just operate at a baseline level of disdain for other people that only each other understands. Trina from Between Chapters asked, where do you shop because your clothes are okay emoji? This is gonna be really disappointing to all of you, but truly 80% of my clothes are from thrift and consignment stores, and that's mostly because I in the past couple of years have just tried to be more sustainable with my clothing choices and not shop fast fashion and things like that anymore. And I also don't have a big budget, so thrift and consignment stores are like the obvious choice for me. Like this tunic I'm wearing is thrifted, the boots I'm wearing right now are thrifted. Yeah, just thrift and consignment stores. I promise. You might be like, there are no good thrift stores in my area. There are. You just have to know how to find the things that call to you, if that makes sense. I had a friend in college who, her mom like resold items on eBay, like clothing items on eBay and they all like sold for a lot of money. So she was really well versed in like knowing how to pick out good things from the thrift store. And the thing that she taught me was really that you have to literally like touch every single thing in the store to find the gold. And I have definitely found that to be true. So yeah, don't go thrifting when you like, I don't know, on a time crunch. Go when you have a lot of time to devote to it and you can go methodically through everything, because that's how you find the real gems. Otherwise, the other 20% of my clothes I get from like local like boutiques, either here in Atlanta or in Florida where my parents live. That's where I get a lot of my like dresses and things like that, jewelry. And then like basics, I try to, like I say, shop sustainably. So Packed clothing is where I get a lot of my basics. Girlfriend Collective as well, their leggings are my all-time favorite. So yeah, that's pretty much the only places that I shop. I'll do the occasional Target run every now and then, but for the most part, that's where I shop. Chelsea from Chelsea Darling Breeds asked a couple of questions. She asked, if you could eat at one restaurant the rest of your life, what would it be? I have agonized over this question because I'm torn between a couple different local places. It's a Venezuelan restaurant here in Atlanta called Arepa Mia. It's just the best, and I could and I do sometimes eat it for like multiple meals in a row. Like I just can't get enough of it. It's kind of pricey, which, you know, I don't know. To me, it's worth the price. And like I've eaten at arepa places outside of Atlanta that are not Arepa Mia, and they're nowhere near as good. I don't know what are they putting in these arepas? What are they putting in this food? It's so good though. Like, yeah. I don't know. I would pick Arepa Mia is what I'm trying to say. Chelsea also asked, what's your favorite color to wear? I love wearing green, like olive green, forest green, like dark green colors because my eyes are green and I feel like it brings out my eyes. She also asked, what was the last thing you treated yourself to that made you ridiculously happy? I ordered the November candle box from Novelly Yours, which is a bookish candle company, and it's a Shadows and Runes box, so it's all Shadowhunter Chronicles themed, and I never ever order subscription boxes or book boxes. Like I just don't, because I just don't, it's just not my thing. But I do have a weakness for bookish candles, and I also have a weakness for the Shadowhunter Chronicles. So I spent, you know, like over $40 on this box, and I don't have a lot of just disposable income to be spending on things like that. So when I do like make that choice to spend money on something like that, it's something like that I know is gonna make me really happy. So that was the last thing I treated myself to. It actually should be coming in the mail today. Very excited about it. Chandler from Chandler Ainsley asked, what's your favorite cheese? You know, tough question, because if we're going on flavors, it's gonna be like a Manchego, but a Manchego is also like pretty dry. like in texture. So like for flavor it'd be a Manchego. For texture I love those like super creamy cheeses like burrata or something. But then also like anything with peppers or jalapenos or something in it. Like pepper jack is kind of gross because like the peppers are good but the cheese base itself is like not that good. But like any artisanal cheeses that have spicy peppers in them, I just love spicy foods. So that was not just one favorite cheese, but that was a detailed analysis of my favorite cheeses. She also asked, what's your favorite Cassie Clare book and character? It's tough because I'm not done with my reread of The Infernal Devices yet, and I also obviously haven't read Queen of Air and Darkness yet because that doesn't come out till December. But currently, right now, I would say it's a tie between Clockwork Princess and Lord of Shadows. But again, that's probably going to be upended very soon. Tobias asked, what's the perfect day consist of, and are you excited for Kacey Musgraves? First of all, yes, I'm very excited for Kacey Musgraves. Kacey Musgraves is doing a show here in Atlanta in March, and it got added to her tour kind of at the last minute. It wasn't on the schedule, but she added it in later. She added 2 Atlanta dates, and I'm going to one of them. So excited. She's my all-time favorite artist, performer, and she's amazing live. And Emma is actually coming down to Atlanta for that concert as well. So I'm excited for Kacey Musgraves. I'm excited to see you, Emma. And then what does my perfect day consist of? Perfect day would consist of breakfast or brunch, like out at one of my favorite restaurants that serves breakfast or brunch here in Atlanta. Going to some sort of like museum. Yeah, going to like some sort of museum and exploring. I love museums and learning and history and art and everything like that. Having a little bit of time to read. Going to a coffee shop and drinking some really, really good coffee. And then maybe going to like a choral or like symphony concert at night. Yeah, that pretty much ticks all the boxes. Okay, and then literally I counted 7 different people asked me about lipstick. So I am going to give you the lowdown on the lipstick situation because inquiring minds want to know apparently, and I'm happy to tell you. I'm just so happy that apparently this is my brand and everyone recognizes that. So let's dive into this, okay? I need to put down my wine. Okay, let me just start out by saying I'm not a liquid lipstick person. I'm not a matte lipstick person. I am a bullet lipstick, classic bullet lipstick person, and I am like a demi matte or like cream or satin finish person. So that's the baseline. I'm also cruelty free, so there's that. Okay, so my favorite formula, I have like 7 of these, but I have 4 of them here to show you, is the ColourPop Luxe lipsticks. It's such a nice cream formula, and I'm talking the cream formula, not the matte ones, because they came out with a matte version of these and I don't like them, but I like this cream version. These are what I wear most days. So my favorite shades are gonna be Layover, which is like this nude color. It's just like the perfect nude for me as a human. Still Crazy, which is a pink. I hate the name of this color. It's like disgusting, but this is the color. It's just a rosy pink kind of color. LA Lady, which is like a brownish red. This is a really good fall shade. And the one that I probably wear the most often, that you probably see me wearing the most in like photos and videos, is 27, which is like a plum color. I really gravitate toward dark colors like this one. This is one of my all-time favorite lipstick shades. Another shade that I wear a lot is the Ritual to Fill lipstick in the shade Carnal. That's what I'm wearing today. Ritual to Fill is a non-toxic beauty brand, all-natural beauty brand, whatever you want to call it. This is just like a little bit of a darker nude kind of color. This formula is a little bit patchy. I'll forgive it because it's a non-toxic brand, but I do love their shades. Another non-toxic brand I love, this is one of my favorite formulas. I just think it's so creamy and pigmented and wonderful, and that's the Clove and Hallow cream lipsticks. I have one in Desert Rose, which is a pretty like boring nude, and I really want more colors of this. because I love this formula, but this color I find a little bit boring, so I don't wear it as often. And then I'll close out by saying if I'm going for a bold look, then I'm probably wearing the Bite Beauty lipstick in the shade Kale, which is a dark green. I also love, it looks black in the tube, but I promise it shows up a lot more green. If you're looking for like a bold color that I think is really wearable and really fun, this is amazing. I love the Bite Beauty formula as well. Like I think that they do a really good lipstick formula. So I hope that answers the lipstick question, because like I said, it was a very burning question for this Q&A. And with that, that is all the questions I have to answer today. I hope you all have enjoyed this video. I know that it was a long one, so thank you for sticking around if you're still here. If you have any other questions for me, feel free to leave them in the comments below and I'd be happy to answer them. In the meantime, thank you very much for watching this video, and I will see you very soon in another one. Bye!